Three bikers walked into a Montana diner looking for trouble. They found a Navy SEAL instead. What happened next would expose a billion-dollar weapon smuggling operation, topple a criminal empire, and teach the Blood Ravens motorcycle gang a brutal lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet woman drinking coffee in the corner. They thought they were intimidating a lone woman. Instead, they picked a fight with one of the deadliest combat veterans in American history. This is the story of how a few bikers messed with the wrong female Navy SEAL, and how their biggest mistake became their final one. Before we continue with the story, tell us where you're watching from. If you like this story, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have special story for you. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Murphy's Diner as Commander Alexandra Winters stirred her coffee, watching the steam rise in lazy spirals. She'd chosen this small Montana town precisely because nothing ever happened here. After 15 years of combat operations and missions that would never make the history books, all she wanted was quiet. Emma Murphy, the silver-haired owner of the diner, approached with a fresh pot of coffee. "You're too young to look so tired, dear," she said, topping off Alex's cup. Her warm smile reminded Alex of her own grandmother. "Just one of those days, Emma," Alex replied, unconsciously rubbing the Navy SEAL tattoo partially visible beneath her leather jacket sleeve. The older woman had no idea about the nightmares that still woke Alex in cold sweats, or the reason she always sat facing the door. The peaceful moment shattered as three motorcycles roared into the parking lot, their engines deliberately loud enough to rattle the diner's windows. The other customers tensed, conversations dying mid-sentence. Emma's smile faltered as she gripped the coffee pot tighter. The Blood Ravens had arrived. James "Snake" Davidson led his two lieutenants into the diner, their leather cuts displaying the gang's distinctive emblem. Snake's scarred face twisted into what he probably thought was a charming smile as he surveyed the room. His gaze lingered on Alex for a moment too long before turning to Emma. "Emma, sweetheart," Snake called out, his voice carrying an edge that made several patrons look away. "We missed you at the town meeting last night. Mayor Hayes was disappointed." Emma's hands trembled slightly as she set down the coffee pot. "I had inventory to do, Snake. You know how it is." Sure, Snake replied, moving closer. "But see, when the mayor calls a meeting, it's not really optional. He's trying to help this town grow and he needs everyone's support." His hand came down hard on the counter, making Emma flinch. Alex watched the exchange silently, her coffee forgotten. She cataloged details with practiced precision. Snake's right-hand man, Viper, carried a knife in his boot. The third biker, a mountain of muscle they called Tank, had a pistol poorly concealed under his cut. "Maybe," Emma said, her voice stronger now. "The mayor should focus on running the town instead of letting criminals dictate policy." The diner went dead silent. Snake's fake smile vanished. "What did you just say to me, old woman?" he growled, reaching across the counter. Alex moved before conscious thought took over. 15 years of training kicked in as she grabbed Snake's wrist, applying precise pressure to nerve clusters that made his fingers spasm open. "She said," Alex spoke softly, but her voice carried throughout the silent diner, "that the mayor should do his job." Snake tried to pull away, but Alex's grip was iron. Viper and Tank moved to flank her, but she remained focused on Snake. "Let go of me," Snake snarled, "or my boys here will make you regret it." Alex smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Will they? Because from where I'm standing, you've got three choices. 1, you and your friends leave now, and we forget this happened. 2, you try something stupid and I send all three of you to the emergency room. Or 3, she increased pressure slightly, making Snake wince. We find out just how many bones I can break before you hit the floor." "You have no idea who you're messing with," Snake spat. "Actually," Alex replied, "I do. James "Snake" Davidson, dishonorable discharge from the Army in 19. You and the Blood Ravens have been running protection rackets across 3 states, but lately you've moved up to weapons trafficking. Did I miss anything?" The color drained from Snake's face. Tank's hand moved toward his concealed weapon, but Alex's voice stopped him cold. "I wouldn't. Your draw is slow and you telegraph your intentions like a rookie. By the time you clear leather, this will be over." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Snake raised his free hand in surrender. All right, we're leaving. But this isn't over. Alex released him, stepping back to give them space to exit. It can be, that's up to you. The three bikers backed away, their attempts to look menacing undermined by the way Snake rubbed his wrist. As they mounted their bikes, Snake shot one last glare through the window. "Who are you?" Emma whispered as the motorcycles roared away. Alex sat back down, taking a sip of her now cold coffee. Just someone who's seen enough bullies for one lifetime. But as she watched the Blood Ravens disappear down the street, Alex knew Snake was right about one thing. This wasn't over. She'd just painted a target on her back, and if her intel was correct, the weapons trafficking was just the tip of the iceberg. The Blood Ravens were part of something much bigger, something that reached far beyond this small Montana town. Emma placed a fresh cup of coffee in front of her, along with a slice of apple pie. "Whatever happens next," the older woman said firmly, "you're not alone." Alex nodded, already running through scenarios in her mind. She'd chosen this town looking for peace, but sometimes peace had to be fought for. And if it was a fight the Blood Ravens wanted, they were about to learn why Navy SEALs were the last people you wanted as enemies. "No," Alex agreed quietly. "I'm not alone, and neither are you. Not anymore." Late that evening, Alex sat in her small apartment above Murphy's Diner, cleaning her Glock 19 with practiced precision. The encounter with the Blood Ravens played over in her mind as she considered her next move. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "It's open, Sheriff," she called out, not looking up from her work. Sheriff Tom Cooper stepped inside, his weathered face betraying concern. "Word travels fast in a small town. Heard you had a run-in with Snake and his boys." "News to me," Alex replied, reassembling her weapon. "I just had a friendly chat with some customers who were being impolite." Cooper sighed, settling into a chair across from her. "Look, Commander Winters—" "Alex?" "Alex," he corrected. "I know about your background. When you moved here 6 months ago, I ran a check. 15 years as a SEAL, multiple commendations, things so classified even my law enforcement clearance couldn't access them." Alex finally looked up, meeting his gaze. "Then you know I can handle myself." "That's what worries me. The Blood Ravens aren't just some local gang anymore. They've got connections. Deep ones. Last month, my deputy found a weapons cache that would outfit a small army. Before we could secure it, orders came down from the state level to back off." "Sounds like someone's being paid to look the other way." Cooper leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Mayor Hayes holds town meetings at the Blood Ravens clubhouse. Half the city council drives new cars they shouldn't be able to afford. I've got a teenage daughter, Alex. I can't risk—" "So you turn a blind eye," Alex finished for him. "I do what I can without getting my people killed." Cooper stood, adjusting his belt. "I'm not here to tell you what to do. Just be careful. Snake isn't the real power in the Blood Ravens. His boss, Marcus Cross, is coming to town next week. The man's connected to arms dealers across 3 continents. Alex's expression remained neutral, but her mind was racing. Cross was a name she'd heard before, during her last mission with the SEALs. An operation that had gone sideways, costing the lives of 2 of her teammates. "Thanks for the warning, Sheriff." As Cooper reached the door, he paused. "For what it's worth, Emma Murphy's a good woman. Been serving coffee and pie in this town since I was a kid. What you did today, well, it's about time someone stood up for her." After Cooper left, Alex pulled out her phone, dialing a number she hadn't used in months. "Jackson speaking." "Mike, it's Winters. Remember that arms dealer we tracked in Baghdad? The one that got away?" A pause. "The one that got Johnson and Martinez killed?" "Yeah, I think I found his supply chain. Montana of all places." "Christ, Alex, you're supposed to be retired." "I need everything you can get me on Marcus Cross and the Blood Ravens MC. Official channels only. I don't want to burn any of your backdoor sources." Mike sighed. "Give me 48 hours, and Alex, be careful. Cross isn't someone you want to tangle with alone." "Who said I'm alone?" The next morning, Alex was helping Emma open the diner when a group of motorcycles roared past. Not blood ravens this time. Their leather cuts displayed a different insignia. The Steel Knights. Their leader, a massive man known as Iron, caught Alex's eye as they passed. There was recognition there, and something else. A message. "More trouble?" Emma asked, her voice tired. "Maybe not," Alex replied. The Steel Knights were different. Former military, mostly. They protected their territory but didn't prey on civilians. And if Alex's instincts were right, they might be potential allies. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mike. "Data coming through. Cross definitely your guy. Body count makes Snake look like amateur hour. Got coordinates for weapon storage facilities. Also, local intel suggests Steel Knight's MC might be enemy of your enemy." Alex smiled. Things were falling into place. The morning crowd started filtering in, regulars who'd witnessed yesterday's confrontation. They nodded to Alex with newfound respect. Word had spread. Someone had finally stood up to the Blood Ravens. Around noon, Deputy Sarah Martinez entered, making a beeline for Alex's usual booth. "Got something you need to see," she said quietly, sliding a manila envelope across the table. "Security camera footage from the highway. Blood Ravens are moving something big. Heavy security, professional drivers, not their usual MO." Alex reviewed the photos. Military-grade transport vehicles disguised as commercial trucks. Armed escorts positioned with tactical precision. "When?" "Last night. And here's the thing, they're getting sloppy. Scared. Snake's got his people watching this place, watching you. But they're not being subtle about it." Alex had noticed. 2 Blood Ravens prospects had been parked across the street all morning, trying too hard to look casual. "Your boss know you're showing me this?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Tom's a good man, but he's scared. Me? I'm tired of watching these bastards destroy our town. Emma was there for me when my mom died, made sure I had hot meals and a place to do homework. I've got her back, same as you." Alex studied the young deputy. There was steel in her spine, fire in her eyes. Another potential ally. "Be careful," Alex warned. "If they realize you're helping me, I can handle myself, and I'm not the only one who's had enough." As if on cue, the rumble of motorcycles approached again. The Steel Knights were back, this time pulling into the diner's lot. Iron dismounted first, his massive frame filling the doorway as he entered. His eyes scanned the room before settling on Alex. "Mind if we join you?" he asked, his voice a gravelly rumble. Sarah tensed, but Alex nodded. As Iron and 3 of his officers slid into the booth, Emma appeared with coffee, seemingly unfazed by the new arrivals. "Heard you had words with Snake," Iron said after Emma left. "Man's got a reputation for holding grudges." "Is that why you're here? To warn me?" Iron chuckled. "No, ma'am. We're here because the Blood Ravens are moving weapons through our territory without permission, military hardware, the kind that gets people killed. And we thought you might be interested in a conversation about mutual interests." Alex leaned back, studying the bikers. Their posture, the way they carried themselves. Definitely military backgrounds. And unlike the Blood Ravens, they looked her in the eye. Respect, not challenge. "I'm listening." Iron glanced at Sarah, who stood her ground. "Deputy Martinez stays," Alex said firmly. "She's part of this." "Fair enough." Iron leaned forward. "Cross is coming to oversee a major shipment. Something big enough that Snake's got his people running scared. We've got intel, manpower, and motivation. What we need is someone who knows how to run an op like this." "Someone with SEAL training," Alex finished. Iron nodded. "Way I hear it, you've got personal reasons to want Cross taken down." Alex's expression hardened. "You hear a lot." "Small community, military folks. Word gets around." Iron's voice softened slightly. "I knew Johnson. He was a good man." The mention of her fallen teammate hung in the air. After a moment, Alex spoke. "If we do this, we do it my way. Clean, precise, by the book, no cowboy stuff." "Wouldn't have it any other way, Commander." As the Steel Knights left, Sarah let out a breath she'd been holding. "You sure about this?" Alex watched the bikers mount up through the window. The two Blood Ravens prospects across the street were frantically making phone calls. "No," she admitted, "but sometimes you have to work with the devil you know to take down the one you don't." The pieces were moving now. Cross was coming, bringing with him whatever operation had Snake so nervous. The Steel Knights were on board, and Sarah represented a potential link to legitimate law enforcement. Now all Alex needed was a plan that wouldn't get everyone killed. Night had fallen over the small Montana town when Alex's phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Mike. She opened the file to find detailed satellite imagery of 3 locations just outside town limits. Warehouses registered to shell companies but clearly serving as Blood Raven's storage facilities. A knock at her door interrupted her analysis. Emma stood there looking nervous but determined. "You've got visitors," Emma whispered. "In the back alley. They say they're friends of yours." Alex grabbed her Glock, following Emma down the back stairs. In the shadowy alley, she found Iron and his sergeant-at-arms, along with an unexpected figure, Sheriff Cooper. "We've got a problem," Cooper said without preamble. "Cross isn't just coming for a routine inspection. He's moving his entire operation here, permanently." "Why?" Alex asked, though she was already piecing it together. Iron spoke up. "Town's perfect. Remote, controlled local government, easy access to state lines, but that's not the real reason." He handed Alex a folder. "Our contacts spotted these guys arriving at the private airstrip outside town. The surveillance photos showed familiar faces, members of the same arms trafficking network Alex had encountered in Baghdad, the operation that had gone wrong." "They're consolidating," Alex muttered, "using the Blood Ravens as cover for a major distribution hub." "It gets worse," Cooper added. "Mayor Hayes called an emergency council meeting tonight. They're voting to slash the police budget by 60%. I'll have to lay off half my deputies." "Including Sarah," Alex concluded. The pieces were falling into place. "They're clearing the board, making sure there's no official resistance." Iron nodded grimly. "Cross arrives in 3 days. Snake's boys are already setting up additional security. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Alex studied the photos again. "They'll be expecting trouble from law enforcement, maybe rival gangs, but they won't be looking for a SEAL team." "Former SEAL," Cooper corrected. "Not exactly." Iron smiled. "Half my crew are former Special Forces, Rangers, Marine Recon, even a couple of Delta boys. We've kept it quiet, maintained our cover as just another MC, but we've got the training." Alex raised an eyebrow. "A motorcycle club full of Spec Ops veterans?" "Someone's got to watch out for the little guy," Iron replied. "We've been tracking Cross for months, gathering intel, but we needed someone with your specific experience to put it all together." The back door opened and Sarah stepped out, still in her deputy uniform. "We've got movement. 3 Blood Ravens trucks just left their compound, headed for the warehouse district." "They're moving things around," Alex said, "consolidating their valuable assets where they can protect them better." She turned to Cooper. "Sheriff, I know you're trying to protect your people, but we're going to need some official cover for this." Cooper sighed heavily. "What did you have in mind?" "I need Sarah and any deputies you trust completely to do some selective enforcement. Traffic stops, license checks, anything to slow down their movements and gather intel." "They'll complain to Hayes," Cooper warned. "Let them, it'll make them sloppy, paranoid. Meanwhile," she turned to Iron, "I need your people to start pressure testing their security. Nothing obvious, just enough to keep them looking in the wrong direction." Iron grinned. "Already started. My boys ran a few bikes past their checkpoints earlier, got them all spun up about potential rivals moving in." "Good. They'll be expecting gang warfare. They won't be looking for a surgical strike." Alex pulled out her phone, showing them Mike's satellite imagery. "We've got 3 days to map their security, identify vulnerabilities, and set up for the main event." "And what exactly is the main event?" Sarah asked. "We're going to let Cross set up his operation exactly as planned, let him bring in his international contacts, his whole network, and then—" Alex smiled coldly. "We're going to take it all down at once, but we'll need one more piece of the puzzle." "What's that?" Cooper asked. "Evidence. Enough to bypass Hayes and go straight to the feds. the kind of evidence that makes even corrupt politicians run for cover. Emma, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. I might be able to help with that. The diner's been here for 40 years. Everybody comes through here eventually. Even people who think they're too important to be seen in a place like this. And everybody talks. Alex looked at the older woman with newfound respect. You've been keeping track? Names, dates, conversations. I may be just a diner owner, but I'm not stupid. I knew someday someone would need to know what really goes on in this town. Iron let out a low whistle. Ma'am, you might just be the most dangerous person here. Meet back here tomorrow night, Alex instructed. Iron, bring your best people. Sheriff, we'll need everything Emma's collected, plus whatever your deputies can legally gather. We've got one shot at this. As the group dispersed, Emma touched Alex's arm. You're not just doing this for the town, are you? This is personal. Alex thought of her fallen teammates, of the mission that had gone wrong. Sometimes personal motivation just means you'll work harder to get it right. Back in her apartment, Alex spread out the intel, starting to form a plan. Cross had no idea he was walking into a trap 3 days in the making. He thought he was expanding his empire, but he was really stepping into a sniper's crosshairs. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mike. Satellite shows more movement. Whatever they're planning, it's massive. Watch your six. Alex sent back a simple reply. Don't worry, this time we're ready for them. The pieces were in motion. Now it was just a matter of making sure everyone played their part perfectly, because in 3 days, the Blood Ravens would learn why you never, ever mess with a Navy SEAL's chosen home. The next morning brought tense activity across town. Sarah and the remaining trusted deputies conducted strategic traffic stops on Blood Ravens vehicles, while Steel Knights members made their presence known through carefully orchestrated drive-bys of gang territory. Alex sat at her usual spot in Murphy's diner, watching Snake and 2 of his lieutenants arguing intensely across the street. Their frustration was visible even from a distance. Your coffee's getting cold, Emma said, sliding into the booth across from her. She placed a worn leather notebook on the table. Here's everything I've got on Hayes and his cronies. 10 years of notes, conversations, meetings that weren't supposed to happen. Alex flipped through the pages, her expression hardening. Emma, this is more than just weapons trafficking. They've been laundering money through half the businesses in town. Why do you think I started keeping track? My herald, God rest his soul, always said knowledge was power. When he passed and they started pressuring me to sell the diner, I knew I needed insurance. A commotion outside drew their attention. Snake was shoving one of his own men against a wall, clearly enraged. The pressure was getting to them. Alex's phone buzzed. A message from Iron. Package secured. Meet at the old mill. I need to go, Alex told Emma. Stay alert. Things are going to get tense before they get better. The abandoned lumber mill sat on the outskirts of town, its rusted equipment serving as silent sentinels. Alex found Iron and his core team waiting inside, along with an unexpected guest, a bound and gagged Blood Ravens prospect. Found him snooping around our territory, Iron explained. Figured he might have something interesting to share. Alex approached the terrified prospect. She recognized him, one of the newer recruits, barely old enough to drink. What's your name, kid? Tommy, he stammered after Iron removed the gag. All right, Tommy, let's talk about the shipment coming in with Cross. Tommy's eyes widened. I don't know anything about... Save it, Alex cut him off. You're wearing a prospect cut, which means you do the grunt work. Loading, unloading, keeping watch. You know things. The question is, are you willing to share those things, or do we have to get creative? The young man swallowed hard. They'll kill me. Kid, Iron growled. What do you think they'll do when they find out you got caught on our turf? Tommy broke. The words poured out. Shipping schedules, guard rotations, the layout of the main compound. But it was his last piece of information that made Alex's blood run cold. They've got some kind of list, he said. Names, locations. Cross is bringing it personally. Snake said it's worth more than all the weapons combined. Alex and Iron exchanged looks. A list like that could expose entire trafficking networks. or reveal every corrupt official on Cross's payroll. One more thing, Tommy added, his voice shaking. They know someone's working against them. Snakes called in extra muscle. Professional guys, not just bikers. Alex's phone buzzed again. Sarah. Problem, Hayes just suspended Cooper, named Snake's brother as interim sheriff. Put him somewhere safe, Alex told Iron, nodding toward Tommy. He might be useful later. Back at the diner, Alex found Sarah waiting with Cooper and Emma. The former sheriff looked defeated. They're moving faster than we expected, Cooper said. Hayes called it a routine administrative review, but we all know what this means. They're consolidating power before Cross arrives, Sarah added. My badge probably won't be worth much by morning. Alex considered their options. The original plan needed adjustment. With Cooper out and legitimate law enforcement compromised, they'd lost their official cover. Her phone buzzed yet again. Mike. Satellite shows major movement. Multiple vehicles converging on your location. Professional operators, not gang members. Watch yourself. As if on cue, 3 black SUVs with tinted windows rolled slowly past the diner. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore, Sarah muttered. They don't need to be, Alex replied. They think they've got control of the town. That makes them confident. Confidence makes them sloppy. Emma watched the SUVs disappear around the corner. What do we do now? We change the plan, Alex said firmly. They're expecting resistance from law enforcement or rival gangs, so we give them exactly what they're watching for, while we hit them from a direction they'll never see coming. The Steel Knights? Cooper asked. Part of it, but we've got another card to play. Alex pulled out her phone, dialing Mike. Remember that favor you owe me? I need satellite coverage real time, and I need you to make some calls. It's time to wake up some old ghosts. As night fell over the town, more black SUVs arrived. Professional mercenaries mixed with Blood Ravens members, setting up checkpoints and patrol routes. They were preparing for war, but they were preparing for the wrong kind of fight. In the basement of Murphy's Diner, Alex laid out the revised plan to her core team. The Steel Knights would play their part, making noise and drawing attention. Sarah and Cooper would work their remaining law enforcement contacts. Emma's evidence would be their insurance policy. But the real operation? That would come from the shadows executed by people who specialized in the impossible. Tomorrow, Alex told them, Cross arrives with his precious list and his international contacts. He's expecting to find a town under his complete control. Instead, he's going to find out what happens when you underestimate the wrong people. Outside, thunder rolled across the mountains. A storm was coming to this small Montana town. By the time it was over, nothing would be the same. 3 bikers walked into a Montana diner looking for trouble. They found a Navy SEAL instead. What happened next would expose a billion-dollar weapons smuggling operation, topple a criminal empire, and teach the Blood Ravens motorcycle gang a brutal lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the quiet woman drinking coffee in the corner. They thought they were intimidating a lone woman. Instead, they picked a fight with one of the deadliest combat veterans in American history. This is the story of how a few bikers messed with the wrong female Navy SEAL, and how their biggest mistake became their final one. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Murphy's Diner, as Commander Alexandra Winters stirred her coffee, watching the steam rise in lazy spirals. She'd chosen this small Montana town precisely because nothing ever happened here. After 15 years of combat operations and missions that would never make the history books, all she wanted was quiet. Emma Murphy, the silver-haired owner of the diner, approached with a fresh pot of coffee. "You're too young to look so tired, dear," she said, topping off Alex's cup. Her warm smile reminded Alex of her own grandmother. "Just one of those days, Emma," Alex replied, unconsciously rubbing the Navy SEAL tattoo partially visible beneath her leather jacket sleeve. The older woman had no idea about the nightmares that still woke Alex in cold sweats, or the reason she always sat facing the door. The peaceful moment shattered as 3 motorcycles roared into the parking lot, their engines deliberately loud enough to rattle the diner's windows. The other customers tensed, conversations dying mid-sentence. Emma's smile faltered as she gripped the coffee pot tighter. The Blood Ravens had arrived. James "Snake" Davidson led his 2 lieutenants into the diner, their leather cuts displaying the gang's distinctive emblem. Snake's scarred face twisted into what he probably thought was a charming smile as he surveyed the room. His gaze lingered on Alex for a moment too long before turning to Emma. "Emma, sweetheart," Snake called out, his voice carrying an edge that made several patrons look away. "We missed you at the town meeting last night. Mayor Hayes was disappointed." Emma's hands trembled slightly as she set down the coffee pot. "I had inventory to do, Snake. You know how it is." Sure, Snake replied, moving closer. "But see, when the mayor calls a meeting, it's not really optional. He's trying to help this town grow, and he needs everyone's support." His hand came down hard on the counter, making Emma flinch. Alex watched the exchange silently, her coffee forgotten. She cataloged details with practiced precision. Snake's right-hand man, Viper, carried a knife in his boot. The third biker, a mountain of muscle they called Tank, had a pistol poorly concealed under his cut. "Maybe," Emma said, her voice stronger now, "the mayor should focus on running the town instead of letting criminals dictate policy." The diner went dead silent. Snake's fake smile vanished. "What did you just say to me, old woman?" he growled, reaching across the counter. Alex moved before conscious thought took over. 15 years of training kicked in as she grabbed Snake's wrist, applying precise pressure to nerve clusters that made his fingers spasm open. "She said," Alex spoke softly, but her voice carried throughout the silent diner, "that the mayor should do his job." Snake tried to pull away, but Alex's grip was iron. Viper and Tank moved to flank her, but she remained focused on Snake. "Let go of me," Snake snarled, "or my boys here will make you regret it." Alex smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Will they? Because from where I'm standing, you've got 3 choices. 1, you and your friends leave now, and we forget this happened. 2, you try something stupid, and I send all 3 of you to the emergency room, or 3. She increased pressure slightly, making Snake wince. "We find out just how many bones I can break before you hit the floor." "You have no idea who you're messing with," Snake spat. "Actually," Alex replied, "I do. James Snake Davidson. Dishonorable discharge from the Army in 19. You and the Blood Ravens have been running protection rackets across 3 states. But lately, you've moved up to weapons trafficking. Did I miss anything?" The color drained from Snake's face. Tank's hand moved toward his concealed weapon, but Alex's voice stopped him cold. "I wouldn't. Your draw is slow and you telegraph your intentions like a rookie. By the time you clear leather, this will be over." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Snake raised his free hand in surrender. All right, we're leaving. But this isn't over." Alex released him, stepping back to give them space to exit. "It can be. That's up to you." The 3 bikers backed away, their attempts to look menacing undermined by the way Snake rubbed his wrist. As they mounted their bikes, Snake shot one last glare through the window. "Who are you?" Emma whispered as the motorcycles roared away. Alex sat back down, taking a sip of her now cold coffee. "Just someone who's seen enough bullies for one lifetime." But as she watched the Blood Ravens disappear down the street, Alex knew Snake was right about one thing. This wasn't over. She'd just painted a target on her back, and if her intel was correct, the weapons trafficking was just the tip of the iceberg. The Blood Ravens were part of something much bigger, something that reached far beyond this small Montana town. Emma placed a fresh cup of coffee in front of her, along with a slice of apple pie. "Whatever happens next," the older woman said firmly, "you're not alone." Alex nodded, already running through scenarios in her mind. She'd chosen this town looking for peace, but sometimes peace had to be fought for. And if it was a fight the Blood Ravens wanted, they were about to learn why Navy SEALs were the last people you wanted as enemies. "No," Alex agreed quietly. "I'm not alone, and neither are you. Not anymore." Dawn broke over the town with an eerie calm. The Blood Ravens' increased security had turned the streets into something resembling a military occupation. Black SUVs patrolled in regular patterns, while armed men in tactical gear maintained checkpoints at key intersections. Alex watched from her window as Snake personally oversaw the placement of surveillance cameras around Murphy's diner. They weren't even trying to hide their intimidation tactics anymore. Her phone vibrated, a secured message from Mike. Ghost team in position. 6 operators, all former teams. They'll follow your lead. A smile tugged at her lips. Mike had come through, calling in operators she'd worked with before. Men who owed her their lives, who would work in the shadows without needing recognition or official sanction. "Commander?" Iron's voice came through her encrypted radio. "We've got movement at the airstrip. 3 private jets just landed. Looks like Cross is arriving early." Alex grabbed her gear bag, weapons and equipment carefully chosen for the operation ahead. "Copy that. Maintain distance. Let them think they've got control of the board." Downstairs, Emma was serving coffee to a mix of locals and Blood Ravens members. The tension in the diner was thick enough to cut with a knife. Alex caught Emma's eye, giving her a subtle nod. The older woman casually walked to the back, flipping the sign on the diner's door to closed before disappearing into her office. Sarah slipped in through the back door, still wearing her deputy uniform despite having been officially suspended. Hayes just called an emergency town meeting for noon. Mandatory attendance for all business owners. "They're going to make their play," Alex said. "Complete takeover, legitimate businesses as fronts for their operation." "There's more," Sarah added, her voice low. "My contacts at state police say they've been ordered to avoid our jurisdiction entirely. No response, no matter what gets reported." Alex checked her watch. 4 hours until the town meeting. 4 hours to set their pieces in place. Her radio crackled. "Commander, this is Ghost 1. We've got eyes on Cross. He's traveling with serious protection. Former Special Forces, maybe CIA. These aren't street thugs." "Numbers?" "At least 12 operators plus Blood Ravens muscle. They're heading for the main compound now." Alex pulled up the satellite feed Mike had provided on her laptop. Multiple vehicles converging on the Blood Ravens headquarters, a supposedly abandoned factory on the edge of town. "Iron, what's your count on total hostiles?" 20 Blood Ravens members plus Snake's new muscle. Add Cross's security detail. We're looking at 40 minimum. All armed, all professional." "Good odds," Alex replied, earning a chuckle from the biker leader. Sarah looked concerned. "That's not good odds, that's suicide." "Numbers don't win fights," Alex said, checking her weapons one last time. "Position, timing, and initiative do. Besides, we're not looking to win a straight fight." A black SUV pulled up outside the diner. 2 men in expensive suits stepped out, heading for the door. "Right on schedule," Alex muttered. "Sarah, get to Cooper, make sure he's ready. Iron, have your people start their run in 30 minutes. Ghost team, maintain shadow surveillance only." The suits entered, scanning the nearly empty diner before approaching Emma's office. Alex could hear their conversation through the thin walls. "Ms. Murphy, Mayor Hayes sent us to escort you to the town meeting early. He'd like to discuss some proposed changes to local business regulations." Emma's voice was firm. "The meeting's not for hours. I'm busy with inventory." "This isn't a request, ma'am." Alex tensed, ready to move, but Emma handled it perfectly. "Let me get my coat." As Emma emerged from her office, she gave Alex the slightest nod. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The next few hours would determine everything. Cross and his operation were consolidating their power, preparing to turn this small town into the hub of their criminal empire. They had the numbers, the weapons, and the tactical advantage. What they didn't have was the one thing that mattered most, the understanding of who they were really fighting. Alex's phone buzzed one final time. "Mike. Satellite shows another convoy approaching from the north. Heavy vehicles, probably weapons shipment. Whatever they're planning, it's happening today." "Copy that," Alex replied. "Time to show them why you don't mess with the SEALs home." She reached for her radio. "All units, Operation Ghostwalker is a go. I say again, Ghostwalker is green lit. Execute according to plan." Across town, hidden figures began moving into position. The Steel Knights mounted up, their engines echoing off the mountains, and in the shadows, 6 highly trained operators readied their weapons. The storm was about to break, And when it did, the Blood Ravens would learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. The town hall's parking lot filled quickly as locals arrived for Hayes' mandatory meeting. Black SUVs flanked the entrance while armed men in tactical gear conducted pat-downs on everyone entering. Inside, Marcus Cross sat quietly behind the mayor's podium, watching the townspeople file in. "All units report," Alex whispered into her radio as she observed from a nearby rooftop. "Ghost 1 in position. We have eyes on the weapons convoy. 6 trucks, heavily armed escort. Iron here. My boys are ready to make some noise. Sarah checking in. Cooper's got our insurance package ready to move." Alex watched through her scope as Snake strutted around the town hall, playing the role of enforcer. The metal briefcase handcuffed across his wrist likely contained the list Tommy had mentioned, names and details that could bring down trafficking networks across multiple continents. "Execute Phase 1, Alex ordered. The response was immediate. The roar of dozens of motorcycles filled the air as the Steel Knights began their coordinated runs, buzzing Blood Ravens checkpoints and drawing security resources away from key positions. Inside the town hall, Hayes called the meeting to order. "Friends, neighbors, we're here today to discuss some exciting changes coming to our community." Before he could continue, the building's power cut out. Emergency lights kicked in as confused murmurs spread through the crowd. "Ghost 2 status on the power station? Primary and backup power disabled. They're running on emergency generators only." Cross leaned forward, whispering something to Snake. The gang leader immediately began directing his men to secure the perimeter. "Ghost Team, Phase 2, hit the convoy." Miles away, the weapons shipment erupted in chaos. Precisely placed charges disabled the lead and rear vehicles, trapping the others. The professional security detail found themselves under attack from invisible opponents, highly trained operators moving through the forest like wraiths. "Convoy is neutralized," Ghost 1 reported. "Minimal casualties, all hostiles contained." Cross received the news through his earpiece, his calm facade cracking slightly. He gestured to his personal security detail, clearly preparing to evacuate. "Not yet," Alex whispered. "Let them feel the pressure build." Hayes was desperately trying to maintain control of the meeting. "Please, everyone remain calm. This is just a temporary—" The sound of explosions cut him off. The Steel Knights had begun their assault on Blood Raven's weapons caches around town, using intelligence from Tommy to hit exactly the right locations. "Iron status? 3 warehouses burning. They're scrambling to respond just like you said they would." Cross stood abruptly, his security team moving to surround him. The briefcase remained firmly attached to his wrist. "All units, prepare for Phase 3. Ghost Team, get ready to—" Alex's orders were interrupted by an unexpected sight. Emma Murphy had stood up in the middle of the town hall meeting. "I have something to say," the diner owner announced firmly. Snake moved toward her. "Sit down, old woman, this isn't your time to talk." "No," Emma replied, her voice carrying clearly through the room. "I think it's exactly my time." She pulled out her worn notebook. "I've got records here. Every meeting, every deal, every bribe, dates, times, amounts. Mayor Hayes, would you like me to start reading?" The mayor's face went pale. Cross's expression darkened as he assessed this new threat. "Ghost Team, hold position," Alex ordered. "This wasn't part of the plan, but let's see where it goes." "You think your little notebook scares us?" Snake sneered, reaching for Emma. That's when Sarah and Cooper made their move. Both former law enforcement officers stood, along with several other townspeople. The dynamic in the room shifted as people began rising from their seats, forming a barrier between Emma and the Blood Ravens. "Well, well." Cross spoke for the first time, his voice cold and calculating. "It seems we have some local resistance to deal with. Snake, make an example." Snake grinned, drawing his weapon. But before he could act, Alex gave the order she'd been waiting to deliver. "Ghost Team, execute Phase 3. Iron, push them east. All units converge on the town hall." The chaos that erupted was precisely orchestrated. The Ghost Team emerged from hiding, their coordinated attack hurting Cross's security detail exactly where Alex wanted them. The Steel Knights pressed in from the west, while hidden operators controlled the escape routes. From her perch, Alex watched the pieces fall into place. Cross and his men had the numbers and firepower, but they were reacting to a plan they couldn't see, fighting shadows and ghosts, while the real threat closed in around them. "Remember," she transmitted to all units, "we need Cross alive and that briefcase secured. Everything else is secondary." The final phase was about to begin, and as thunder rolled across the mountains, Alex shouldered her rifle and prepared to enter the fray personally. Because sometimes, the only way to end a fight is to walk straight into the heart of it. Chaos erupted inside the town hall as Cross's security team formed a protective circle around him. Snake started barking orders, but his voice was drowned out by the sound of more explosions in the distance. "Ghost team status?" Alex commanded, moving swiftly from her perch toward the building. "East and west exits covered, they're boxed in." Through the windows, Alex could see Emma being shielded by townspeople while Sarah and Cooper maintained control of their section of the crowd. The resistance was no longer hidden. The town had found its courage. "You think this changes anything?" Cross's voice cut through the chaos as he addressed the crowd. "I own this town. One phone call and I can have National Guard units here saying this is a riot. How many of you want to see your neighbors gunned down by military units?" Alex's radio crackled. "Commander Mike here, just intercepted communications. Cross is making calls trying to get military support by claiming domestic terrorism." "Not happening," Alex replied. "Execute Protocol Echo." Suddenly, every phone in the building lost signal. The look of confusion on Cross's face was priceless as he stared at his useless device. "What's happening?" Snake demanded. "They've got a tactical jammer," one of Cross's security team reported. "Professional grade." Cross's calm facade finally cracked. "Get me out of here, now." His security team began moving toward the rear exit, using Blood Raven's members as a screen. But as they approached the door, smoke grenades crashed through the windows, filling the room with thick white clouds. "All units engage," Alex ordered, pulling on her night vision goggles. The ghost team breached from multiple points simultaneously. In the chaos and smoke, Cross's professional security found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't communicate with, and couldn't escape. Alex moved through the smoke like a wraith, her movements precise and lethal. Years of SEAL training took over as she systematically disabled threats, working her way toward Cross. "Please!" Mayor Hayes tried to run but found himself face to face with Cooper. "Going somewhere?" the former sheriff asked before knocking him unconscious with a single punch. Snake pulled his gun, firing wildly into the smoke. "Come out and fight, you cowards!" Alex's voice came from behind him. "Careful what you wish for." Before Snake could turn, Alex's strike hit him in the back of the knee. As he fell, a second blow knocked his weapon away. The gang leader found himself on his knees, staring up at Alex through the thinning smoke. "You should have left Emma alone," she said before rendering him unconscious. Cross was backing away, his security detail falling one by one to the ghost team's precise attacks. The briefcase was still handcuffed to his wrist. "Commander," Iron's voice came through the radio. "We've got the perimeter locked down. Blood Ravens are surrendering all over town." "Stay focused," Alex replied. "Cross is our primary target." The arms dealer looked around frantically, realizing he was running out of options. His last two security members stood their ground, buying him time to reach for a small device in his pocket. "Ghost 3, he's got a dead man switch." Cross smiled coldly. "Stand back or I release everything. Every name, every operation, sent to every major news outlet. How many of your fellow operators would die when their covers are blown?" Alex emerged from the smoke, her weapon trained on him. "You'll be dead before your finger leaves that button." "Maybe," Cross admitted. "But are you willing to sacrifice that many lives? I remember Baghdad, Commander Winters. You couldn't save your team then. Can you really risk more deaths now?" The mention of Baghdad made Alex's finger tighten on the trigger. But before either of them could act, a single shot rang out. Cross screamed as the device was shot from his hand with surgical precision. "Nice shot, Ghost 2, Alex said, advancing on Cross. "My pleasure, Commander." Cross clutched his bleeding hand, his composure finally shattered. "You don't understand what you've done." The people I work for are about to have much bigger problems, Alex cut him off, removing the briefcase from his wrist. Mike, do you have control of the data? Affirmative. Ghost Team's tech specialist just finished cloning the drive. We've got everything. As the smoke cleared, the scene came into focus. Blood Raven's members and Cross's security team were zip-tied on the floor. Sarah and Cooper were securing Hayes and the other corrupt officials. Emma stood proudly among her fellow townspeople, her notebook of evidence still clutched tightly. Ghost Team, secure the package for transport. Iron, sweep the town and make sure we didn't miss any surprises. Sarah Cooper, I believe several federal agencies will be very interested in what's in this briefcase. Cross glared up at her from the floor. This isn't over. Alex smiled coldly. Actually, it is, you just don't know it yet. The sound of helicopters approached as federal authorities, alerted by Mike's team, began arriving. The long nightmare that had gripped the town was finally ending. But as Alex watched Cross being led away in handcuffs, she knew he was right about one thing. There would be consequences. The question was, who would be facing them? Federal agents swarmed the town hall, processing suspects and collecting evidence. Alex stood off to the side, watching as Cross and Snake were loaded into separate vehicles. The Ghost Team had already melted away, leaving no trace of their presence. Emma approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee from her diner. Thought you might need this, she said, handing one to Alex. After all, you just helped bring down an international arms dealer in my little town. Your evidence helped make it possible, Alex replied, taking a grateful sip. Those notebooks of yours are going to put a lot of people away. Commander Winters? A tall woman in an FBI jacket approached. I'm Special Agent Rodriguez. We need to discuss what happened here. Of course, Alex turned to Emma. Rain check on that coffee? Emma smiled knowingly. Honey, after what you did for this town, you've got free coffee for life. In a makeshift command center set up in the sheriff's office, Alex sat across from Rodriguez and 2 other federal agents. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mike. Data secured. International teams moving on identified targets. Well done. So, Rodriguez began. Want to explain how a former Navy SEAL, a motorcycle club, and a diner owner managed to bring down one of the largest weapons trafficking operations we've been chasing for years? Alex's response was interrupted by Iron entering the room. He'd changed out of his motorcycle club, cut into a suit that somehow made him look even more intimidating. That would be where I come in, he said, pulling out a badge. Special Agent Shaw, FBI Organized Crime Division, deep cover operation, 3 years in play. Alex hid her surprise well, but inside she was reeling. Iron, or Shaw, hadn't just been playing along with her plan. He'd been running his own operation. The Steel Knights? She asked. Mostly former military who now work as federal contractors, Shaw explained. We've been building a case against Cross for years, but could never get close enough. Then you showed up and started causing trouble. Rodriguez smiled. And provided the perfect opportunity to spring the trap. Though I'm curious about the other operators involved. The ones no one seems to have seen. What others? Alex replied innocently. I just saw a lot of brave townspeople standing up for themselves. Shaw suppressed a grin. The surveillance equipment mysteriously malfunctioned during certain periods. Very unfortunate. Outside, the town was coming back to life. Blood Raven's members were being rounded up across 3 states based on information from Cross's briefcase. Mayor Hayes and his corrupt officials were facing federal charges, and Sarah had just been appointed interim sheriff with Cooper as her advisor. Alex's phone buzzed again. A message from Ghost 1. Package secured, data transmitted, team dissolving. Good hunting, Commander. One thing still bothers me, Rodriguez said, reviewing her notes. Cross mentioned Baghdad. Want to tell me about that? Classified, Alex and Shaw said simultaneously. Rodriguez looked between them, then sighed. You know what? I don't want to know. The brass upstairs is happy we've got enough evidence to put Cross away forever, and somehow nobody got killed. I'm calling it a win. As the federal agents wrapped up their initial investigation, Alex walked back to Murphy's diner. The place was packed with townspeople celebrating their newfound freedom. Sarah and Cooper sat at the counter while Emma served her famous apple pie. Shaw fell into step beside her. You know, we make a pretty good team. Would have been nice to know you were FBI, Alex replied. Would have compromised a 3-year operation. Besides, he grinned. You didn't exactly advertise your backup team either. What team? Right. They walked in silence for a moment. You know, the Bureau's always looking for consultants with your skill set. Thanks, but I'm done with that life. This town is my home now. Is it? Because I heard about 3 other trafficking networks operating in Montana. Seems like the kind of thing a small town might need protection from. Alex stopped, studying Shaw's face. Are you offering me a job or asking for help? Maybe both. The Steel Knights could use someone with your expertise. Officially, we're just another MC. Unofficially? He shrugged. Well, someone's got to watch out for the little guy. Before Alex could respond, her phone buzzed one final time. Mike. New intel suggests Cross's associates are regrouping. Might be headed your way for revenge. Alex smiled. Maybe retirement would have to wait a little longer. Let me think about it, she told Shaw. The next few days brought dramatic changes to the small Montana town. Federal agents continued processing evidence while news vans clogged the streets, all hoping to get the story of how a small community had brought down an international weapons trafficking ring. Alex sat in Murphy's diner, watching CNN run a story about Cross's arrest. The news anchor was carefully avoiding any mention of mysterious operators or tactical teams, instead focusing on the brave local resistance led by a former Navy SEAL. They're calling you a hero, Emma said, refreshing Alex's coffee, though they don't know the half of it. They don't need to, Alex replied. Better if some things stay in the shadows. Her phone lit up with a text from Sarah. Meeting at Cooper's place. Important. 20 minutes later, Alex found herself in Cooper's living room with Sarah, Shaw, and surprisingly, Special Agent Rodriguez. We've got a problem, Rodriguez began without preamble. Cross talked. Shaw leaned forward. What did he give them? Names, contacts, but more importantly, he revealed the existence of something called Project Echo. Apparently a black book of every arms deal, every corrupt official, every hidden operation for the past decade. Alex's expression remained neutral, but her mind was racing. She'd heard whispers about Echo during her active duty days. The briefcase didn't contain the complete list, Rodriguez continued. It was just a small part. The real database is stored somewhere else, and Cross claims his associates are moving it. Moving it where? Sarah asked. Here. Rodriguez spread photos across the coffee table. Satellite imagery shows convoys heading this way from 3 directions. These aren't just gang members, we're talking former special forces, intelligence operatives, mercenaries. They think we still have Cross's data, Shaw concluded. Or they want revenge, Alex added. Either way, they're coming. Cooper spoke up for the first time. How many? At least 60 operators, split into 3 teams. They're professionals, well-equipped, and they don't care about collateral damage. Sarah looked worried. The town's still recovering. We're not ready for another fight. No, Alex agreed, but we don't have a choice. If these people come here looking for Echo, they'll tear the town apart. Shaw studied the satellite photos. My team's stretched thin, running operations against Cross's other holdings. We can maybe get 10 operators here in time. The ghost team? Rodriguez asked, surprising everyone. At their looks, she smiled. Please, I'm FBI, not blind. I know someone helped you take down Cross, even if it's not in any official report. Alex shook her head. They're gone. Dissolved back into the shadows. That's how they operate. Then we work with what we have, Cooper said firmly. This is our town. We'll defend it. Alex's phone buzzed. Mike. Got your satellite request? 3 convoys, heavily armed. ETA 48 hours. Want me to make some calls? She typed back. Not yet, let me try something first. I have an idea, Alex told the group. But you're not going to like it. Try us, Sarah said. We let them come, all of them. But we control how they come, where they go, and what they find when they get here. Shaw caught on first. You want to set a trap. The whole town becomes the trap. We use their assumptions against them. They're expecting to find Cross's data, so we give them something to find. Meanwhile, we pick them apart, Shaw finished, using their own tactics against them. Rodriguez looked skeptical. That's insane. These are professional killers we're talking about. So am I, Alex replied quietly. And this time, I've got home field advantage. She stood, moving to the window. In the distance, storm clouds were gathering over the mountains. Somewhere out there, 3 teams of killers were heading their way, thinking they were going to find a small town unprepared for their arrival. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Sarah, I need you to coordinate with the townspeople. Anyone who wants to leave should go now. Anyone who stays needs to be ready. Cooper, start mapping out defensive positions, every alley, every rooftop, every basement. I want to know this town better than they ever could. Shaw, I need the Steel Knights, all of them. Rodriguez, how much backup can you officially provide? The FBI agent smiled grimly. Officially, none. Unofficially, I can delay any response to reports of disturbances in this area for about 24 hours. That's all we'll need. Alex turned back to the group. They're coming to our home, thinking we'll be easy targets. Let's show them exactly how wrong they are. Thunder rolled across the mountains as the first drops of rain began to fall. The storm was coming, in more ways than one, but this time, they would be ready. The next 24 hours transformed the small Montana town into a carefully orchestrated trap. Alex stood on the roof of Murphy's Diner, watching townspeople execute her plans with military precision. Emma's Diner had become their command center, its basement stockpiled with supplies and ammunition. East Team reports they're in position. Sarah's voice came through the radio. All civilian evacuations complete from that sector. Alex watched through her binoculars as Shaw's Steel Knights took up concealed positions throughout the town. They didn't look like federal operators anymore. They'd fully embraced their MC cover, looking every bit the rough bikers they pretended to be. Mike, what's our status on the incoming teams? First convoy 20 miles out, moving cautiously. Second and third about an hour behind. They're coordinating their approach, planning to hit from 3 directions simultaneously. Alex smiled. Exactly as expected. Her phone buzzed with a new message, an unexpected one. Commander, Ghost One's text read. Team still dissolved, but 6 operators happen to be in the area. Strictly unofficial. Want some help? Thought you boys would never ask, she replied. Cooper's voice crackled over the radio. Alex, you need to see this. In the sheriff's office, Cooper had the surveillance feeds displayed on multiple screens. The approaching convoys were professional, moving in tactical formations. But something was off. Look at their loadout, Cooper pointed. They're carrying specialized breaching equipment, electronic warfare gear. They're not just coming for revenge, Alex realized. They think Echo is here, hidden somewhere in town. Is it? Cooper asked carefully. Alex's expression gave nothing away. Would it matter if it was? Guess not. Cooper studied the screens. They're going to tear this place apart looking for it. No, Alex replied firmly. They're not. Her radio crackled. Commander, Ghost One, team is in position. Permission to engage advanced scouts? Alex checked the time. The storm clouds were getting darker, the wind picking up. Perfect conditions for what she had planned. Negative, Ghost One. Let them get comfortable first. Make them think they have the initiative. The first signs of the enemy advance teams appeared at the edge of town. Pairs of operators moving tactically, checking buildings and alleyways. They were good, but they were looking for obvious threats, not the kind Alex had prepared. All units maintain radio silence unless emergency. Execute Phase 1. Across town, lights began going out in systematic patterns. Power to certain blocks cut while others remained lit, creating a complicated patchwork of light and shadow. The approaching operators would assume battle damage or hasty defensive preparations. They wouldn't realize every shadow was deliberate, every dark alley a potential trap. Sarah, status on our package? Ready to go. They'll find exactly what they're looking for exactly when we want them to. Alex had prepared a fake Echo database, filled with just enough real information to be convincing. When the enemy found it, they'd think they'd accomplished their mission. That's when the real trap would spring. Her phone buzzed again. Mike. Main convoy's accelerating. They're taking the bait. Emma appeared on the roof carrying coffee and sandwiches. Thought you could use these. Big night ahead. Emma, you should be in the shelter with the others, when the older woman snorted. This is my town too. Besides, someone needs to keep you fed. Alex smiled despite herself. This was why they would win. Not because of tactical superiority or specialized training, but because they were fighting for home. The radio crackled once more. Ghost 2. Commander, we've got movement. Lots of it. They're not waiting for full dark. Through her binoculars, Alex could see the first major wave approaching. Vehicles moving into position, operators deploying in textbook formations. They thought they were setting up for a systematic sweep of a small, underdefended town. All units hold position, let them come in deep. Alex stood, checking her weapons one last time. Remember, we're not just defending, we're hunting. These people came to our home thinking we'd be easy prey. Let's show them what happens when predators become prey. The storm finally broke, rain beginning to fall as lightning illuminated the approaching forces. In the distance, thunder rolled across the mountains like artillery fire. The battle for the soul of this small Montana town was about to begin, and Alex intended to make sure it would be a night these operators would never forget, if they survived it. The rain intensified as enemy operators moved through the darkened streets. Their night vision equipment gave them confidence, but Alex knew it would also be their weakness. They were looking through a digital green haze while her people knew every shadow by heart. Ghost 1, status? Alex whispered into her radio. First team moving into the kill zone, 20 operators moving in 4-man cells. Heavy weapons, demo gear. Shaw? Steel Knights in position, ready to create chaos on your mark. Alex watched through her scope as the enemy's lead element approached Murphy's diner. They moved well, covering angles, checking corners. Professional, dangerous, but predictable. Execute Phase 2, she ordered. Across town, the Steel Knights roared to life, their motorcycles thundering through the streets in what appeared to be a panicked evacuation. The enemy operators reacted exactly as trained, splitting their forces to investigate the new threat. They're dividing, Ghost 2 reported. Second convoy moving to intercept the bikers. Sarah, now! From her position at the sheriff's office, Sarah triggered the prepared devices. Strategic transformers blew, plunging new sections of town into darkness while illuminating others. The enemy's night vision equipment suddenly became a liability as they dealt with rapidly changing light conditions. Multiple targets disoriented, Ghost 3 confirmed. Moving to engage. The first shots were silent, suppressed weapons taking out key targets in the enemy's command structure. By the time they realized they were under attack, the Ghost team had already melted away to new positions. Commander, Mike's voice came through her earpiece. Third convoy is holding back. Their commander's smart. He's realized something's wrong. Good, Alex replied. That's what the package is for. On cue, Sarah transmitted a burst of encrypted data, the fake Echo database, from a location near the center of town. As predicted, the enemy's electronic warfare team picked up the transmission. They're moving, Ghost 1 reported. All units converging on the transmission source. Alex smiled grimly. Phase 3, all units execute at will. The storm above provided perfect cover as the real battle began. The Steel Knights abandoned their decoy run, instead launching coordinated attacks on the enemy's vehicles. Ghost team operators picked off anyone who tried to call for backup or establish a command position. But it was the townspeople who proved most effective. Every door that looked like an escape route led to a prepared ambush. Every shadow concealed a defender who knew exactly where to shoot. The enemy operators found themselves fighting phantoms, never able to establish control or consolidate their forces. Commander, Shaw's voice was tight with controlled excitement. They're falling back to preset rally points. No, Alex ordered. They're falling back to where we want them. The fake Echo data had led them straight into the town's old warehouse district, a maze of buildings rigged with motion sensors and prepared firing positions. As the enemy operators sought cover, they found themselves being herded into increasingly smaller spaces. Ghost Team, status? 15 targets eliminated, 20+ wounded. Rest are contained in the warehouse sector. Alex switched channels. Mike, what's the third convoy doing? Finally moving in. Their commander must have realized his advance teams are being decimated. Perfect, Sarah. Initiate final sequence. The remaining streetlights shut down completely, plunging the town into total darkness. The storm above intensified, rain hammering down as lightning split the sky. Through her thermal scope, Alex watched the enemy's remaining forces cluster together in the warehouses. Their training told them to consolidate, to establish a defensive position. Instead, they were doing exactly what she'd planned, gathering in one location. All units be advised. Phase 4 is active. I say again, Phase 4 is weapons-free. The remaining enemy operators never saw it coming. Ghost Team snipers took out their leadership. Steel Knights cut off their escape routes. And the townspeople, led by Cooper and Sarah, maintained a constant barrage that kept them pinned down. But it was Alex who delivered the final blow. Moving through the rain like a shadow, she approached the main warehouse where the enemy commander had established his last position. The man who'd led the third convoy, the one who'd held back thinking he was smarter than the rest. Time to show him just how wrong he was. All units, hold position, she ordered. This one's personal. Lightning flashed again as Alex moved toward the warehouse entrance. The real fight was about to begin. Lightning illuminated the warehouse interior as Alex moved silently through the shadows. Her thermal scope revealed 6 heat signatures on the upper level. The enemy commander and his remaining elite team. Ghost 1, maintain overwatch. No one leaves this building. Copy that, Commander. We've got you covered. The warehouse floor was a maze of old machinery and storage crates. Perfect cover, but also perfect for ambush. Alex could hear the enemy team communicating in whispers, their voices carrying a familiar cadence. Former DevGru, she realized. Navy SEALs who'd gone mercenary. Commander, Mike's voice came through her earpiece. Got an ID on their leader. Marcus Reaper Blackwood. He was in Baghdad. Alex's blood ran cold. Blackwood had been there the day her teammates died, working for a different contractor. He'd disappeared before anyone could question his role in the operation's failure. So, Blackwood's voice echoed through the warehouse. The famous Commander Winters. Been a long time since Baghdad. Not long enough, Reaper. You know why we're here? Give us Echo and maybe some of these townspeople survive the night. Alex moved between shadows, changing positions. Still hiding behind civilian casualties, Blackwood? Just like Baghdad? A burst of gunfire replied, rounds impacting where she'd been seconds before. These weren't random shots. Blackwood's team was trying to herd her into a kill zone. Baghdad was business, Blackwood called out. Just like this is. You really think your little town can stand against what's coming? Cross was just the beginning. Ghost Team status on the other forces? Contained and neutralized. Steel Knights are running cleanup. Only targets remaining are in your building. Alex smiled grimly. Hear that, Reaper? Your backup isn't coming. More gunfire, more controlled this time. They were getting frustrated, making mistakes. 2 operators moved to flank her position, but Alex was already gone. You don't get it, do you? Blackwood's voice was closer now. Cross's organization wasn't the head of the snake. We are. Echo contains everything. Every operation, every contract, every killer for hire. With that data, we control it all. Wrong, Alex replied, her voice echoing. You don't control anything, not anymore. She triggered the devices Sarah had planted earlier. Flashbangs detonated on the upper level, followed by smoke grenades. The enemy's night vision equipment became worse than useless as the warehouse filled with disorienting light and smoke. Ghost Team external threats? Negative, Commander. Building is secure. No reinforcements approaching. Alex moved upward, using the chaos to her advantage. The first operator never saw her coming. A quick strike to the throat, another to the temple. Silent. Efficient. The second tried to radio for help but received only static. The town's radio jammers were still active, cutting off all communication. It's over, Reaper, Alex called out. Your men are dead or captured. Your operation is blown. Surrender now. Like your team surrendered in Baghdad? The taunt was meant to enrage her, make her sloppy. Instead, it brought perfect clarity. Through the smoke and strobing lights, Alex moved like a ghost. The third and fourth operators fell to precise shots. The fifth managed to get off a burst of fire before Alex's knife found his throat. Then it was just her and Blackwood. You know what your problem is, Winters? His voice was behind her now. You still think like a SEAL, honor, duty, protecting the innocent. The world doesn't work that way anymore. You're wrong. Alex turned, facing him. That's exactly how it works. You just forgot. They moved simultaneously. Blackwood was good, one of the best. His strikes were precise, powerful. But Alex had something he didn't. A reason to win that went beyond money or power. The fight was brutal and close. Bones cracked, blood flowed. Blackwood landed a crushing blow to her ribs, but Alex absorbed it, countering with a strike that shattered his knee. Ghost Team status? She managed between breaths. Still clear, Commander, end this. As Blackwood stumbled, Alex saw her opening. The same move she'd used countless times in training. The one they taught every SEAL. This is for Baghdad, she said, and struck. Blackwood's eyes widened as he fell. His last words were barely a whisper. You don't know what you've done. Alex stood over him, breathing hard. Actually, I do. Mike? Uploading now, Commander. The real Echo database, copied while they were chasing our decoy. Every name, every operation. Currently being transmitted to every major intelligence agency worldwide. Outside, the storm was finally passing. Dawn would soon break over the town, revealing the night's carnage. But for now, in the smoke-filled warehouse, Alex allowed herself a moment of closure. Baghdad's ghosts could finally rest. Dawn broke over the small Montana town, revealing the full scope of the night's battle. Federal vehicles began arriving as Alex stood outside Murphy's Diner, watching cleanup crews move through the streets. The official story was already being crafted, a failed criminal takeover attempt, thwarted by local law enforcement and concerned citizens. Emma appeared with coffee, studying the scene. Town's seen better days. We'll rebuild, Alex replied. Besides, most of the damage is cosmetic, strategic, not structural. Sarah approached, looking exhausted but satisfied. Final count, 38 enemy operators dead, 22 captured, no civilian casualties, Ghost Team's already gone, and Shaw's people are back to being just another MC. And Blackwood? Being transported to a secure facility, though from what I hear, half the intelligence agencies in the world want to talk to him. Alex's phone buzzed. Mike, Echo database causing chaos. Mercenary networks worldwide are falling apart. Lots of powerful people running scared. Commander Winters? Agent Rodriguez approached, looking surprisingly fresh despite the long night. We found something interesting in Blackwood's possession, a file about Baghdad. Alex tensed slightly. Classified operation. Not anymore. Rodriguez handed her a thumb drive. Thought you might want to see it. Proves your team was set up. Blackwood was working with Cross even back then. The truth finally comes out, Emma mused. Sometimes it just needs a little help, Alex replied, pocketing the drive. Cooper joined them, his arm in a sling from the night's fighting. Town council's meeting tonight. Emergency session to elect new leadership. Let me guess, Alex smiled. Sarah's name came up? Among others. Cooper looked meaningfully at Emma, who seemed surprised. Me? I'm just a diner owner. Who helped expose corruption and protect this town, Sarah pointed out. People notice things like that. Alex's radio crackled, Shaw's voice. Commander, got some interesting intel. Seems Blackwood's organization had other operations in the region. Might need someone to look into those. Thought the Steel Knights were just another MC, Alex replied. We are. But sometimes another MC might need some professional consultation. Before Alex could respond, Mike sent another message. Satellite shows movement near Canadian border. Similar patterns to Cross's operation. Could be nothing. Emma noticed Alex's thoughtful expression. Don't tell me you're thinking of leaving already? No, Alex said firmly. This is home now, but home might occasionally need protecting from a larger radius. Sarah grinned. You know, as sheriff, I might need a special advisor. Someone with tactical experience. Extra legal knowledge. Are you offering me a job? More like a consulting position, very unofficial. Plenty of time to run the self-defense classes you've been talking about starting. Alex looked around at the town, her town. The place she'd come to hide had become something more, a home worth fighting for, worth protecting. Ghost 1 to Commander, her radio suddenly crackled. If you're taking that consulting job, might know some operators looking for occasional contract work. Strictly legitimate, of course. Of course, Alex replied, smiling. Emma refilled their coffee cups. Well, looks like Murphy's Diner might need to expand its back room, make space for more private meetings. Planning for the future already? Honey, Emma said firmly, after what this town just lived through, we're all planning for the future. A better one. The morning sun climbed higher, highlighting the damage that would need repair, but also illuminating the strength of a community that had faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. Alex's phone buzzed one final time. Mike. Baghdad file confirms everything. Your team's names will be cleared. Justice served. Finally, Alex whispered. Looking around at her newfound family, Emma's maternal strength, Sarah's determined leadership, Cooper's steady reliability, Alex felt something she hadn't experienced since before Baghdad. Peace. But as Shaw had suggested, there were other towns, other threats. The work wasn't over, it was just changing shape. And somehow that felt exactly right. 3 months after the battle that had changed everything, Murphy's Diner was busier than ever. The basement, once a simple storage space, had been renovated into what Emma jokingly called the Situation Room, a secure meeting place for Alex and her expanding network of allies. Alex sat at her usual booth, reviewing reports from Shaw's teams about suspicious activity along the Canadian border. Sarah, now officially elected as sheriff, joined her with fresh coffee. Got something interesting, Sarah said, sliding a file across the table. Remember those warehouse raids last week? Found documentation linking 3 state officials to Cross's old network. Loose ends, Alex mused. They're all scrambling since Echo went public. Speaking of scrambling, Sarah nodded toward the TV mounted in the corner. The news was showing footage of another high-profile arrest, a weapons dealer with connections to Cross, taken down in Seattle by unknown operators. Alex smiled, recognizing Ghost Team's handiwork. Your friends have been busy, Sarah commented. What friends? I just see effective law enforcement at work. The diner's door chimed as Cooper entered with Shaw, both looking serious. Problem? Alex asked. Shaw placed a laptop on the table showing surveillance photos. Remember how we thought Cross's operation was just about weapons? Turns out that was just the surface. We found evidence of human trafficking routes through Montana into Canada. Using the same corridors as the weapons shipments, Cooper added. Multiple small towns involved, local officials bought off. Sound familiar? Alex studied the photos. The pattern was clear, the same methods Cross had used, now being employed by others trying to fill the power vacuum. How many towns? At least 6 that we know of, Shaw replied. All small, isolated, vulnerable, just like this one was. Emma appeared with more coffee and her infamous apple pie. Sounds like someone should do something about that. Already happening, Sarah said. Federal task force is being assembled. Very unofficial, very deniable. They're looking for someone to coordinate ground operations. Alex raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. You recommended someone? Actually, Shaw interjected. We all did. The Steel Knights need direction for their more specialized operations. Ghost Team operates better with familiar command, and having a sheriff's special advisor provides useful cover. Plus, Emma added, you need something to do between teaching those self-defense classes. The classes had been Alex's idea. helping townspeople protect themselves, building confidence and community. The waiting list was now 3 months long. "What about here?" Alex asked. "This town still needs protecting." Sarah smiled. "We've learned a few things. Besides, you won't be far. Just expanding the definition of home territory." Alex's phone buzzed. "Mike. Got movement on those border cases. Time sensitive. Team standing by for your call." She looked around the table at her unlikely family. Emma's quiet strength, Sarah's determined leadership, Cooper's steady resolve, Shaw's tactical expertise. All part of something larger now, a network dedicated to protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. "Well," Alex said finally, "guess I better stock up on coffee. Might be some late nights ahead." Emma smiled knowingly. "Honey, the coffee's already brewing, and my apple pie travels well in case you're wondering." Outside, motorcycles rumbled past, Steel Knights on patrol, keeping their town safe while preparing for bigger missions. Somewhere out there, Ghost Team operators waited for orders, ready to strike from the shadows. And in a small Montana diner that had become so much more, a former Navy SEAL realized that sometimes finding peace meant helping others fight their battles. "All right," Alex said, opening her laptop. "Show me what we know about these towns. Let's help them like we helped this one." Because some fights were worth taking on, some causes were worth the cost, and some small towns needed to learn that they weren't as helpless as they thought. Twilight painted the Montana sky in shades of purple and gold as Alex stood on Murphy's Diner's roof, watching the town settle into its new normal. Steel Knights patrolled the streets alongside Sarah's deputies, while townspeople went about their business with a newfound confidence. Her phone buzzed with updates. Ghost Team reporting successful operations in 3 border towns, Shaw coordinating with federal agencies, Mike sharing satellite data on new threats. The network they'd built was growing, protecting more communities, saving more lives. Emma climbed up to join her, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing a mayor's pin on her apron. "Penny for your thoughts?" "Just thinking about how much has changed," Alex replied. "When I came here, I was looking for a place to hide. And instead, you found a place to stand and fight." Below, Sarah's patrol car pulled up. The new sheriff had proven herself more than capable, transforming the department into something the town could be proud of. Cooper, now her chief deputy, had trained a new generation of officers who understood the importance of protecting their community. "Got the latest numbers," Sarah called up. 3 more towns have requested our consulting services. Seems word is spreading about what happened here." Alex smiled. The official story was simple enough, a small town standing up to organized crime. But throughout the region, a different message was spreading. There were people willing to help, if you knew how to ask. Her radio crackled. "Commander Ghost 1, border operation complete. Package secured, hostages freed. Local authorities taking credit, as planned." "Good work," Alex replied. "Get some rest. I have a feeling we'll be busy soon." Emma watched the sunset with knowing eyes. "You're heading out again, aren't you?" "Just for a few days. There's a town in Idaho. Reminds me of how this place used to be. Scared, vulnerable, looking for someone to show them how to fight back?" "Something like that?" Shaw's motorcycle rumbled into view, the Steel Knights leader looking every bit the gruff biker despite his federal badge. He nodded up at Alex, a silent confirmation that preparations were complete. "You know," Emma said thoughtfully, "when my herald started this diner, he said it would become the heart of the town, a place where people could come together, feel safe." He was right. He was, but he never imagined it would become something more, a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for other communities. Alex's phone lit up with one final message from Mike. "New intel suggests major operation forming in Pacific Northwest. Multiple towns targeted. They're using Cross's old playbook." "Looks like our work isn't done," Alex mused. "It never is," Emma replied. "But that's why we do it. Why you do it." Below, the town continued its evening routine. Families walked safely down streets that had once belonged to criminals. Businesses thrived without fear of extortion. And in the distance, more steel knights arrived, preparing for the next mission. "You know what I learned here?" Alex said finally. "It's not about being the biggest or strongest. It's about being willing to stand up, to fight back, to show others they can do the same. And that's why you'll keep going out there. Keep helping other towns find their strength." "Someone has to." Emma smiled, heading back toward the stairs. "Well, just remember, there's always coffee waiting here, and people who have your back." Alex watched the last rays of sunlight fade over the mountains. In her mind, she could see the other towns waiting for help, the other battles that needed fighting. But now she wasn't fighting alone. She had a family, a network, a purpose. The quiet woman drinking coffee in a small-town diner had become something more, a symbol of hope for those who needed it most. And as night fell over Montana, Alex Winters smiled, knowing that somewhere out there, another town was about to learn what happened when you messed with the wrong Navy SEAL. Because some stories don't end. They just change shape, becoming legends that inspire others to find their own strength, their own courage, their own way to fight back. And in a small diner in Montana, that legend had only just begun.